Welcome back to The Weakest Explore, where ancient power is real, competent decisions are rare, and today, the healer gets the spotlight. Liora has a crush, a terrible party, and just enough mana to make both problems worse. Let us get into it. Morning finds Liora clutching Rowan's crooked charm like it is royal treasure. It is not, but her face has already overruled the evidence. Inside the drawer sits a bent spoon, a pebble, and one dead flower. Rowan's rubbish collection has somehow become a romance shrine. She faces the mirror and prepares to speak to one harmless idiot. The posture says, fearless healer. The blush says, absolutely doomed. Mirror Liora delivers the line beautifully. Real Liora immediately panics at sounding like somebody's worried wife. One dramatic finger catches the chair, and her secret courtship museum achieves flight. Grace has officially left the bedroom. She dives for the charm while the spoon lands perfectly in a mug. Honestly, promote the spoon to party leader. Once the mess settles, she wipes the charm with ridiculous tenderness. Cheap carving, premium emotional damage. A thread of life magic repairs the cracked edge. Even her smallest spell refuses to let Rowan's terrible craftsmanship die. Then somebody knocks, catching Liora surrounded by enough evidence to convict her of first-degree crushing. She hides gifts under pillows, in boots, and behind books. This is less cleaning and more romantic tax evasion. The door opens 1 inch. Liora blocks the remaining space with the least innocent smile ever produced by a healer. Alone again, she realizes she said the word romantic out loud. The floor is invited to swallow her whenever convenient. Thankfully, duty provides an escape. Nothing cures embarrassment like running toward other people's injuries. She ties Rowan's charm inside her pouch, close enough to keep and hidden enough to deny under oath. The mirror catches one final glimpse as she leaves. That little ribbon is doing more romantic work than Rowan has managed all year. The guild infirmary is packed, and Liora heals anyone who asks because saying no has never survived contact with her conscience. Her mana vial is nearly empty beside one grateful beginner, kind heart, tiny reserves, and absolutely no understanding of resource management. Garrick enters in spotless armor and blocks the sunlight because subtle villain lighting apparently costs nothing today. He grabs her wrist before the next spell lands. The patient recoils, and the room suddenly feels much smaller. Then he slams down the supply ledger. Nothing says healthy teamwork like itemized control and airborne herb jars. Liora apologizes while the healed novice quietly keeps his coin. Garrick hears submission. The audience sees generosity being punished. She pulls free, but her hands fold around the staff instead of fighting back. Fear has excellent muscle memory. And she still gives away the last golden spark. Garrick said conserve mana. Liora heard somebody is hurting. He points at his party's names as if the ink purchased her soul. Apparently, mana ownership is now an accounting discipline. The curtains divide the room perfectly. Supplied beds on his side, everybody else waiting on hers. Her empty vial rolls into Garrick's polished boot. Even the prop department knows who drained the room of warmth. Liora looks frightened but not sorry. That quiet refusal is the strongest thing she has done all morning. Garrick orders her toward the expedition board, and she follows, because surviving him currently feels easier than opposing him. One last look back at the wounded says everything she cannot. She would make the same choice again. Garrick chooses Donwell, the easiest money in town. Whenever a man says easy money this confidently, prepare the medical supplies. They leave one crushed healing herb behind, which may be the only member of this party making a sensible decision. Donwell's second corridor swallows the group beneath wet stone ribs. Beginner dungeon, advanced bad atmosphere. 3 slimes gather around a child-sized helmet. That is the dungeon equivalent of a professionally printed warning sign. Garrick charges from slime height, looking heroic because the camera has not reached the consequences yet. Behind him, Liora's legs lock. Her staff is ready. The rest of her has filed an emergency objection. His blade bursts one slime and sprays acid directly toward the unprotected porter. Excellent form, terrible awareness. Liora throws herself over the porter while Garrick celebrates in the background. One of them is actually protecting the party. The burn is shallow, but pain is pain, so Liora spends mana while Garrick performs Angry Semaphore. Her healing comes out far too bright and empties the vial. Beautiful magic, brutal efficiency problem. A second slime rises behind her while Garrick discovers that Triumph has a very short warranty. Now the corridor forms a perfect triangle: injured porter, exhausted healer, and one loud swordsman stranded with his decisions. Garrick finally gets cut and demands healing. Leora's fingertips answer with one sad little spark. She stares at the useless glow while slime reflections shake inside her eyes. This is the exact fear she warned everyone about. Still, she drags the porter uphill while Garrick hacks open a retreat. Cowardice apparently has excellent grip strength. They escape, and Garrick points at Liora before checking the wounded. Accountability has also escaped the dungeon. Their torchlight disappears, leaving the tiny helmet beside reforming slime. Dawnwell keeps evidence better than the guild will. Back in Bramblegate, Garrick enters first, and Liora trails behind, soaked, exhausted, and conveniently positioned for blame. Mud, bandage, and empty vial hit Odell's counter. 3 objects, 1 ugly story, and several missing details. Garrick climbs above the crowd to deliver his heroic version. Men love a staircase when lying needs better staging. Liora tries to answer from below, but every nearby body turns toward him. Volume wins the first round. He reenacts the dungeon with enough arm movement to qualify as theater. In this production, every monster apparently wore Leora's face. The nearest table laughs while she disappears between chairbacks. Crowds are brave when cruelty comes with witnesses. Liora looks toward the porter she saved. He looks anywhere else, proving healed hands can still fail people. That intact hand grips her bandage and quietly confirms the truth. Unfortunately, Fabric has not been invited to testify. Garrick raises the empty vial like a murder weapon. Context remains missing, but confidence is fully stocked. Odell opens the ledger while Garrick's party closes ranks. Liora stands alone inside a very public empty space. The clerk's quill pauses, giving Odell one final chance to act like the authority in the room. Laughter blurs behind Liora until shame finally overtakes fear. No joke here, this part simply hurts. Then she steps forward along her own wet footprints and says the one thing nobody wants to hear: she healed who needed her. Garrick drops the badge before she can finish. The performance is over, and now comes the paperwork-shaped knife. Bright daylight waits beyond the doors while Liora remains trapped beneath the notice board. Freedom is visible and somehow miles away. Odell turns the party ledger toward her. Garrick crosses his arms like the decision needs decorative supervision. Her name sits under his, surrounded by debts and red marks. The page has already chosen its villain. One gloved finger covers Liora Bell before the quill moves. Garrick erases her twice for emphasis. She looks between both men and understands the hearing ended before she entered. This is only the ceremonial humiliation. The clerk draws one black line through her name. Tiny movement, enormous wound. Garrick throws used bandages and empty bottles at her feet, turning every act of healing into an invoice. Liora kneels to collect them while boots step around her. Nobody bends down because decency might be contagious. The total appears beside her reflection in spilled ink. Even the ledger wants a dramatic close-up. Garrick extends his hand for payment while towering over her. Somehow, the man taking everything still looks offended. Odell objects softly and far too late. Discomfort is not intervention, sir. Liora removes the party token herself. This time, the hand making the decision belongs to her. Once it leaves her palm, grief turns into exhausted dignity. The weakest healer just stopped begging to stay. She shoulders the debt sack and walks out alone. Heavy bag, straight back. Behind her sits the worthless token beside one forgotten flower. Guess which one actually helped somebody? Meanwhile, Rowan sits before an ancient throne and discovers unlimited power with one tiny customer service issue. The store offers miracles. His available balance offers 0, which is also the number of useful financial plans he brought. He reaches through the window as if touching harder might establish ownership. Ancient technology remains unmoved by legal nonsense. Rowan compares a strength upgrade to his skinny arm and takes the pricing personally. Glamorous abilities rotate beyond reach while the 0 stays perfectly still. Even the interface has comedic timing. He smiles, pleads, and threatens the silent menu. Negotiations fail at every emotional setting. Then the followers page appears, displaying the precise number of people currently willing to follow Rowan anywhere. He leans close enough to fog magical glass. Finally, a system feature aimed directly at his worst statistic. The Bonds tab opens with a locked mark, and suddenly the treasure feels less like a prize and more like a contract. Store, followers, and bonds surround him. Power is everywhere. Access remains aggressively elsewhere. A footnote confirms ordinary acquaintances do not count. Bold of the system to assume Rowan possesses those. Wonder becomes dangerous confidence as Rowan misunderstands the instructions in real time. He pockets the token and sprints for the exit. History's greatest recruitment campaign is about to begin with no budget. At the doorway, he strikes a heroic pose in torn clothes. The chamber provides exactly 0 applause points. The empty throne waits behind him with 7 silent silhouettes. It has waited centuries. It can survive Rowan's hiring process. Rowan bursts into the market waving an upside-down sign and benefits that remain legally classified as imaginary. The baker rotates it without stopping his dough. This man has solved today's problem with minimum emotional investment. Rowan pitches glory to a veteran whose shield blocks the entire response. A literal wall would be less direct. The veteran walks away, leaving Rowan to finish his speech for one extremely interested patch of street. Next comes a stray dog and half a stale bun. Finally, a candidate operating at Rowan's professional level. The dog steals everything and joins the butcher. Better compensation package, understandable career move. Followers remain 0. Apparently, food theft does not constitute a sacred relationship. Rowan asks a fountain statue to blink once. At this stage, Stone is receiving serious consideration. A guard catches him interviewing a suspicious chest. Bramblegate law enforcement has seen this specific romance before. Dog, statue, guard, and mimic occupy separate zones around Rowan. The composition says intervention. Rowan sees networking. Even the mimic turns its keyhole away. Rejected by furniture again, and this one already knows him personally. A child points while Rowan processes the chest having standards. The youth of Bramblegate remain merciless. He drags the ruined sign toward the chapel district. The scraping arrow helpfully indicates rock bottom. At sunset, Rowan calls the experiment useful to absolutely nobody. Confidence is just denial with better posture. The abandoned sign lies beside paw prints leading away. Somehow the dog still has the strongest plot instincts. Those paw prints lead behind the chapel, where Liora is hiding beyond the laundry with her entire life in one debt sack. A tear lands on Rowan's crooked charm. His terrible carving has survived longer than her terrible party. Rowan rounds the planter and freezes. Crying women are apparently the one dungeon hazard he never researched. Liora turns away while he raises both hands. For once, retreating might actually be the respectful move. He offers a handkerchief, notices its criminal condition, and confiscates it from himself. That disaster pulls one tiny laugh through her tears. Rowan has accidentally discovered emotional first aid. He sits several feet away and copies her posture instead of crowding her. Look at him finding boundaries without a map. A clean dock leaf becomes the replacement handkerchief. Primitive, ridiculous, and somehow sincere. Liora finally looks over while Rowan carefully studies anything except her. The camera department, however, remains fully attentive. They sit on opposite sides of the planter with enough space to breathe. Romance does not always need somebody falling into somebody's chest. She opens the debt sack and shows him what the guild called waste. Rowan recognizes every item as somebody's healed injury. Then he spots his charm hidden in her pouch. The boy who misses every hint has finally been struck by one. His surprise softens instead of becoming a joke. Please document this rare, mature Rowan sighting. He moves only close enough to read the total, following every red mark with growing anger. Then he tears a clean corner from his recruitment sign. The worst campaign in town may have found its first real purpose. The dog curls between them while the bell shadow crosses the debt sack. Even the scene knows when to slow down. Liora explains the freeze, the porter, and the empty vial. Rowan listens without interrupting, so miracles are already happening. Vial, bandage, and charm sit together like a tiny museum of kindness nobody properly valued. Rowan points to an old scar her weakest spell once closed. He remembers because weak people notice who helps them. Liora studies it in disbelief, while Rowan becomes embarrassed by his own sincerity. Feelings remain his hardest dungeon. The memory places battered Rowan in darkness with her little spell as the only warm light. Small magic, enormous timing. He calls himself an excellent repeat customer, and her laugh finally breaks the pressure.
Liora admits she freezes in danger. Her fingers squeeze the staff like confession requires physical support.
Rowan places his hand beside hers, not over it. A tiny gesture, but consent gets better staging than possession. She meets his eyes while sunset catches the tears. Yes, the lighting team absolutely understood the assignment.
Their profiles share the frame without stealing each other's space, charged, intimate, and still respectful. Rowan counts every repaired piece of junk as proof that little magic changes real things. The spoon receives undeserved credit again. Liora finally smiles without hiding it. There are the premium assets, hope and basic human warmth. Behave yourselves. She stands first and lifts the sack. Comfort is over. Choice begins now. Rowan reveals a two-person sketch on the battered sign. Artistic skill remains unavailable, but the empty space is hers. Their long shadows leave the garden together while the empty vial glows behind them. Empty does not mean useless. Outside the guild, elite parties use the front steps while Rowan and Liora establish headquarters beside the rubbish bins. His revised sign contains two stick figures sharing one battered shield. Governance has never looked less expensive. Rowan climbs a crate for confidence and immediately destroys it. The proposal will now continue from accidental kneeling. Liora looks down in alarm while he pretends the pose was intentional. Sir, the camera angle is helping you more than the lie. He displays empty purses, cheap gear, and one dented pot. Radical honesty or the worst sales pitch alive? A wealthy party passes behind them while Rowan proudly presents cookware. Glamour is temporary, soup is operational. He opens the form with both hands and promises equal votes, no grabbing, no ownership, and no hidden ledger tricks. Liora's finger hovers over the blank second line. A name-shaped space has never looked this dangerous. Behind her stand the doors where Garrick erased her. Trauma has excellent architecture. The wide frame places Garrick's banner inside and Rowan's disaster outside, with Liora holding the only meaningful vote. Rowan admits they may become the weakest party in Astera. Finally, a campaign promise supported by evidence. Then he promises they will be weak together, and somehow the awful line lands exactly where it needs to. Liora laughs and cries because hope is scarier when rejection has become familiar. She steps out of the guild's shadow and reaches for Rowan. The weakest proposal just earned a yes. Their joined hand silhouette above the broken crate. Nothing about this party is impressive except the choice itself. They enter together, and the same crowd notices Liora returning beside Bramblegate's favorite human accident. A fresh form waits beside her crossed-out name. One page shows what was done to her, the next shows what she chose. Rowan plants both hands on Odell's counter while his backpack towers behind him like unsecured evidence. Odell studies Rowan, Liora, and the word party in that order, searching desperately for a clerical escape route. A pan falls onto the official seal before he can stamp it. Rowan's equipment insists on joining every conversation. Liora catches 3 bottles while Rowan calls it teamwork. Technically correct, emotionally shameless. Then she writes her own name in the second slot, trembling but deliberate. Nobody places it beneath Garrick this time. The ink dries under Rowan Fenn with no master and no subordinate, just 2 beginners making one questionable decision. Odell raises the stamp while Garrick watches from behind. Funny how rejection looks different when the rejected person returns smiling. The desk splits old party from new, Garrick isolated, Rowan and Liora shoulder to shoulder. The stamp lands through a burst of dust. Fenn party, rankless, 2 members and already a workplace safety concern. Liora holds the cheap badge to her chest. Rowan attempts restraint and nearly injures himself internally. They receive 1 beginner quest and immediately pull opposite ends. Partnership begins with a paperwork tug-of-war. Rowan lets go first and gives her the choice. That tiny surrender proves more than the entire speech outside. 2 mismatched signatures rest under warm lamplight. The seal is crooked, which feels appropriately official for them. They leave beneath the lanterns with the badge swinging between them and absolutely no idea what just woke up. Cyan light touches the metal where Liora cannot see. The silent system has noticed her. Rowan stops mid-step while the shared quest sheet stretches between them. Invisible menus remain terrible for normal walking. Liora turns back smiling, and Rowan stares through her at something only he can see. Romantic timing, catastrophically poor.
Followers flashes 0, then traces her silhouette. Candidate detected does not sound nearly as harmless as teammate.
He waves through the interface and nearly meets a lamppost. Ancient power claims its first dignity point. Rowan lowers his hand and says nothing. For once, secrecy comes from caution rather than an elaborate bad idea. The Bonds tab opens by itself and places a locked brand beside Liora's name. The joke has officially become a warning. Potential bond floats near her warm face while Rowan watches from the cold side of the window. They stand physically together, but the interface builds a luminous barrier between them. Party membership is not the same as trust. The system confirms ordinary recruitment is insufficient. Apparently, the cosmic contract has read the fine print Rowan skipped. His smile falters as he understands the requirement is far more serious than finding somebody willing to hold a quest sheet. Liora offers him half the page, asking why he stopped without suspicion. Rowan accepts and forces the normal smile back. They walk onward beneath one lantern while the cyan window follows. 2 beginners, 1 secret, and 0 bond points. So, forming a party was the easy part. The system wants a willing soul bond, and Rowan has not even told Liora it exists. If you want to see how badly that conversation goes, like, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for the next episode.